Good morning, everyone. I am Shalvi Pawar, Project Associate and Team Leader at Energy, Environment and Climate Change vertical of Pune International Center. I welcome you all to the Clean Energy Conclave on scaling renewable energy smart microgrids, especially for Pune metropolitan region. To give you a brief of EECC, EECC is a vertical of Pune International Center, and it deliberates on the policies related to environment and climate change to the government. And we are also into conceptualizing decarbonization projects with the private sector. And to brief you about Pune International Center and its work, it's an independent think tank which deliberates on the issues of environment, economy, national security, and social innovation as well. And this event is in collaboration with Center for Sustainable Development of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, and also Clean Energy Access Network. At PIC, we believe in integrated efforts and collective efforts to address the issues which PIC deliberates on, and that's why we have a variety of people from various domains here. Next, I would now like to introduce our honorable guest, Shri Mahesh Zagde sir. Sir, he is the ex-principal secretary to the government of Maharashtra and ex-CEO to the Pune Metropolitan Region Development Authority. We welcome you, sir. PMRDA, right. Next, we also have Professor Amitav Malik, sir, the youngest and most enthusiastic of all, even at the age of 81. Or like he mentions 18. He is also a Padma Shri awardee and one of the founding trustees of Pune International Center. He also founded our vertical Energy, Environment, Climate Change around 6-7 years ago, and he has been heading it since then and motivating us to work in this field. Next, we also have another award-winning scientist with us, Dr. Priyadarshini Karve ma'am, CEO of Clean Energy Access Network and founder and director of Samuchit Envirotech. Samuchit is a social enterprise for agro-waste management, innovative products, and clean fuel alternatives as well. Next, we also have Dr. Gurudas Nulkar sir from Center. He's the director of Center for Sustainable Development at Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, trustee at Ecological Society Pune, and visiting professor at IIT Kanpur's Sustainable Energy Engineering. I would now request Gurudas sir to set the agenda for the discussion and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shalvi. Welcome everybody. Good morning and Suprabhat to everybody. I'm happy to be part of this August gathering. I represent the Center for Sustainable Development at the Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. And I am a member of PIC. Well, that should have come first because in chronology that comes first. Professor Malik insists that this has to be said in that particular, and it's important why he says that. So the Gokhale Institute, as you probably are already aware, is a 93-year-old institution, one of the foremost leading economic research institutions in the country. We are a university from 1983. The Center for Sustainable Development is a very young child of the Gokhale Institute. We started just 1 year and about 30 days ago today. A year and 30 days ago, and it started with the intention of engaging in research that leads to action on the ground. So, which means we are not doing research for the sake of publication. Publication is going to be a part of it, but the main idea is to conduct research which will lead to solutions in terms of policy and action. The CSD from the start has been a very close collaborator of the PICEECC, the Pune International Center Energy, Environment, Climate Change. Thanks so much to Professor Malik and his enthusiasm to get associated with various organizations. What he keeps saying is, this journey cannot be fought alone, it has to be fought as an army. And I'm happy to be part of the army led by General Malik. And of course, Priyadarshini here is also very much a part of that. So solar energy, the way we conceptualize this program and this roundtable is, there's always been this talk of Ukraine and Alaska and America and Russia having their large, and of course the Gulf countries having their large stocks of fossil fuel. But it would be worthwhile to note here that this is a non-renewable resource. This is a limited stock that they have. And India is bestowed with the limitless stock of natural resource, which is solar energy. And we have 380 million acres of land parcel with our country, and we are based in the tropical climate. So all the odds are for us. We have now to convert these odds into something which will actually energize and power the country into becoming a world leader. So solar energy, it is for us. The greatest challenge of solar energy is the transition of moving from thermal power to solar power is actually the challenge of moving from centralization to decentralization. It's not just a problem of technology, but it's a problem which encompasses the social aspects, the policy aspects, the technological aspects, and of course the behavioral aspects of consumption of electricity. So this requires a significant understanding of how societies behave, how individual investors invest, how profit is made while generating electricity, how policies need to be shaped for doing all of this, and it actually is getting into a very complex phenomenon. This complexity can only be solved by sitting across the table and discussing the nuances involved in this. And that was the starting point when we conceptualized this roundtable. We would like to engage with all of you and many more stakeholders in society to understand how this transition from a fossil fuel based economy can move towards a renewable resource based economy, and how we can move from centralization to decentralization. So these are my few thoughts as a starting point. And I would now request Shalvi to take up the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurudas sir. I would now request Shri Mahesh Zagre sir to address everyone.
Thank you, Shalvi, and good morning to you all. Padma Shri Professor Malik and all the dignitaries and esteemed participants around the table. I am the only non-technical person here around. I am Babu. I was a Babu, now no more. And I do not have any technical background about the subject that you are going to talk. And the subject that I have been developing for last, I think, 2 years now. 2 years, yeah, that's all. I have come here to not to deliberate on the technicalities of the today's topic, but little background and insights into what could be done and why it is needed to be done. So two things I would specifically mention. Of course, at the macro level, and as Professor Nulkar has said about this, that we are energy starved country, basically. And if we take it as that we are, I always say, when I was in the service, I used to say that we are the energy slave country, because most of the energy sources we are importing. So many people do not like this word slave, India to be called slave again. But yes, we are energy slave, but we have not understood the potential of this country in terms of how we can be really masters of our own energy resources. And as Professor Nulkar said, that we have immense resources, unlike the resources, fossil fuel resources, which are not going to be there sooner. it's not just the energy slave, being energy slave country, it's also like a climate change. We are contributing a lot because of the large, vast geographical areas and the population base. Although we do not own it, we consider that US and the developed economies are major contributors to the carbon. Of course, they are there. But as we develop, we are also going to contribute as much as they would be they are doing if we do not change the ways and where they have failed in keeping this planet clean. So these are the two things that we need to keep in forefront while developing any policies for the government or the society. If we come to why smart microgrids, I consider that since we have considered these two problems like energy slavery and the climatological changes, and if you want to address them, then there could be many solutions, many schemes, many policies coming from the government, state government, central government, and of course the local bodies and the society at large. My personal belief throughout has been if there is a humongous problem, then if that problem is broken into pieces, like fragmented, then you can get better solutions rather than addressing the problem at large. We have to fragment that. We have to bring it down to the last fragment so that we can provide the solutions. And smart microgrid is one such solution for both these aspects of the energy shortage and the climatological change. Smart grid, when I was Director General of MEDA, I had two things about this, and the smart grid we started that time talking about this, it was in 2005. But probably we were not so much talking about smart grids. The word has started in Europe and North American continent, but was not mainstreamed as yet that time. Probably today we are considering this as one of the solutions for addressing the energy shortages and of course the climatological changes. Now while doing that, RE is going to be the main component. And as Professor Malik has taken up this issue about how to access all the renewable energy potentials in PMR and showcase it to the country that if it can be done in one geographical area, this can be replicated all over the country. And he has come out with a wonderful report. He had submitted, his team has submitted the report to the Environment Minister, and it was well taken, probably everybody is aware of it. Now, this probably this is one such aspect that this is like implementation of that report. In reality, while doing that, we need to conceptualize some of the issues that what are the issues that can arise while implementing these smart grid microgrids. First, we must find out what are the opportunities available for and whether it is really necessary. Now, smart microgrids, do we really need that? I mean, we will be deliberating that. Do we really need one? Or if the grids are there, they are serving the people and serving for so many years now. If grids are serving, the energy grids or power grids are serving, then do we really need that? Of course, there is need because of power losses and so many things, outages, everything. And most of these generating energy power generators are based on fossil fuels. We have those problems about the major grids, although we cannot wish them away. Major power grids, we really cannot wish them away. But then while accepting their existence, we need to, as I said earlier, that how can we fragment the problem that is there, and this fragmentation at the last mile comes to the level of smart microgrids. Now, small microgrids, here we have to restrict it into a geographical area, and especially a geographical area with some statutory connotation to it. Maybe it is like a regional development authority or Jila Parishad or Panchayat Samiti or village panchayat, society, housing society, municipal corporation or township, whatever you feel that. So we need to create some kind of identification of where microgrids can come. When our paper starts developing, we have to have that. And we may also propose it to the government that how we can incorporate into the government policies about what could be the sizes of microgrids, starting from say village and going upwards to regional development authority like PMRDA, which is about 7,500 square kilometers. Of course, if they have not increased it further, Vivek would be authority to tell about it. But it can go to that, and then probably we can basically give statutory status to microgrids in a like a regulatory format. Second, then there could be mapping of all renewable resources, whatever the renewable resources are available, and then we can create a map of that renewable resources in that geographical area. That is the baseline. It could be a program of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, that all the resources could be harnessed 100%. That should be the objective, to harness all the resources in that microgrid, and then to create microgrid, that is like infrastructure then for this. So develop a network of infrastructure, that could be the third stage. Then comes the how it can talk to the grid itself. There are issues then. DISCOM representative will tell, because when it comes to the like interconnection between the renewable energy connection to the grid, there are many issues, and I have experienced those issues when I was at DG MEDA. There's a lot of conflict there arising, of course, rightly so, because they have their own ways of looking at it, profitability and maintenance, and so many things are there. But there has to be some meeting point, that how microgrids can economically interconnect it with the grids without affecting their existence. So this is one issue, and that issue needs real deliberations, because some economics comes into the play. In fact, I would suggest, and in fact I had recommended at that time in 2005-06, that there could be some subsidy element coming from the government for this, and MEDA was willing to start some scheme for financing the interconnections between grid and microgrids. So this is one aspect that this group needs to deliberate upon. This is one thing. Third is about when it comes to the development of microgrids, there has to be ownership of the local community in the form of village panchayat or panchayat samiti, as I suggested earlier, or micro. They have to be like part of it, as a local self-government bodies. They have to own it, not just the units or authorities or the private entrepreneur who's going to run this, or the organizations who are going to run, but the local self-government authorities or some authorities functioning in that area have to have ownership, so that the ownership of the public also becomes imperative in that. Of course, the microgrids cannot be complete without the energy conservation measures. The microgrids alone will be meaningless unless we inculcate or we introduce the 100% opportunities for energy conservation. There is a lot of energy wastages. I do not want to give you the figures here, because figures are always disputed or debated upon, but a lot of energy wastage is there. Maybe it is during willing or whatever, or even in the house also, like if you do auditing of one flat, and if you find out the wastages, energy wastages, power wastages there, then probably the energy need could be brought down to as much as 60, 50, 40%, whatever is the level that is there. So to that extent, you do not need to generate then. So this microgrid should incorporate the concept of energy conservation seamlessly. The project has to have this as an integral part. Then comes the education of the consumers. No, see, the microgrid, they should be told to them that the microgrids probably in the initial phases may cost a little more, should not be, but then the cost can be compensated through the energy conservation methods, and then this can be economically sustainable venture. So these are the issues that we need to do, and then create a very robust document so that we can take up to the authorities like the energy minister, power minister, the secretaries of the concerned department, urban development department, rural development department, and of course the field offices like director, the MEDA, Mars Energy Development Agencies, and the local authorities. This has to be a very concentrated effort. However, my understanding of the functioning of the government, if we have a good document and if you tell them that this is good for you, as to the politicians, that this will add to your like marketing value during elections. This one we have to do that, and to the bureaucracy also, that yes, you have achieved something during your tenure, that this if you do it, and this is very short term. It's not that it has got gestation period of 5 years or 10 years, nothing. Within 6 months you can start showing the results. If energy, I had started during MEDA days, the energy auditing done by the students themselves. Like I had the program of reverse education for energy conservation. So we used to tell the students in the class like the standard 4 or 5 and 6, and they used to tell that, when you are not in the room, switch it off, geyser how much time, and that used to pay good dividends. So this is how we have to tell everybody, and I think this gestation period is very short. Again, we have to also go to the local authorities for telling them to incorporate such aspects into development control regulations. What happens, these departments, they do not talk to each other. See, government is one such organization. We may be talking to, this may be roundtable, but this roundtable doesn't happen in government. We are averse to talking to each other. We consider ours to be mine to be fiefdom of my department, and why other departments I should be considering. No, that's a legacy of right or wrong, but it is there, and it's so concrete. We do not, and if I am transferred to another department, probably I will give a classic example in the energy sector only. One power plant was to be established at Dahanu, fossil fuel plant based, and there was a secretary who was power secretary, but additional charge of environment secretary was also with him. So as a power secretary, he used to push that project, and as environment secretary on the file, he used to oppose that. So this is what this is how it happens. P. Abraham, good. I mean, he was a very nice officer, and he himself told me that, Mahesh, see, this is what has happened, and this is the beauty of governance. He considers beauty. I consider this has to be like the major threat to the administration. But this is how it happens. So we have to consider this also, that we need to make them talk to each other. Otherwise, such nice, beautiful, workable projects gather dust in the, too many such volumes remaining in the cupboards of the government everywhere. So we need to do that. I don't think I have to tell anything more about this, because I normally scared of speaking in front of the experts of that field. So I wind up here. No, I'm not. Thank you very much for Nene, and I am always with you. If it comes to that, if the report is to be taken to the government, and in fact today only, there's going to be a meeting of the Deputy Chief Minister, who is also, I think, heading the power department, with MEDA. If the report is ready, it is my responsibility to take it up to him and to tell him that this is what report is. So this can be done. So everybody around the table should be very positive about this, and to see I'm one person who doesn't like to wait for too long. It has to be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Otherwise, it's meaningless. So let's do it on that lines, and thank you very much.
This report will be ready in 1 month.
Wonderful. You have better ideas than me then. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir. And we are glad to know that you have shown support to take this forward. Now, I would like to request Dr. Karve ma'am to give her address.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can we have the presentation? So I'm representing here Clean Energy Access Network, which is a new entity in Pune, but not a new entity in the Indian context. We had our office in Delhi, which we have shifted about a year back to Pune, primarily because this is where we believe new things in renewable energy are happening. Let me first start by saying a few words about Clean. if we can see the slide. So Clean started working in 2014 as an industry association of entities working for decentralized renewable energy. In 2018, we registered as a multi-state society, so it's a not-for-profit organization. It's a sort of an industry association of DRE practitioners. However, we are a very unique kind of an industry association in the sense that there are members who are in solar energy, wind energy, micro hydro, so a wide biomass, a wide variety of technologies, but all small scale renewable energy. And we also have members who are looking at policy advocacy, financing, so various aspects, technical as well as non-technical aspects of decentralized renewable energy. Also, our members include not just enterprises but also civil society organizations, policy think tanks, funding institutions, and R&D institutions. So, in that sense, we are a bit different from other industry associations.
Is
it,
desktop?
Yes, there is some issue with the cable.
So I'll just sort of continue talking. Our focus is on raising the profile of these small-scale renewable energy across India. So in that context, we believe that the energy transition that globally we need to see now, the natural progression has to be towards smart microgrids. And while this meeting is about electricity, from Clean perspective, we believe that this is the case for all energy carriers, not just electricity. And I would just like to sort of lay out the logic why I am saying this. There is some graphic there which I had created to make it a bit more obvious. So hopefully it will come up as I am speaking. We are all aware of the climate crisis. In 1990s, researchers started saying that the sure short way to deal with climate crisis is to start shifting away from fossil fuels. However, the fossil fuel lobby is so strong that the political establishments globally were sort of scared of the F word. Nobody was willing to mention fossil fuels in the climate change deliberations for a long time. 2015 Paris Agreement set a limit on how much we should allow the temperature to increase by the end of this century, and that created a framework which allowed researchers to develop scenarios as to how do we get there. The IPCC assessment report 6, which came out about a year ago, clearly stated that the fossil fuel use must start dropping from 2030 onwards if we want to stay on track to meet the target of Paris Agreement, which is to keep the global warming less than 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2100. So that sort of sets a timeline as to how our energy systems need to transition. Ultimately, it is the last conference of parties of UNFCCC, which happened in November in Dubai, where finally the global political leaders have been sort of forced to say that we need to transition away from fossil fuels. Now, this is on paper. There are a lot of ifs and buts and conditions which are also written there. And there is a lot of confusion as to how this is possible to operationalize. Okay, you can, I don't think this is working. Yeah.
I think you'll have to just tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, thanks. So how to operationalize is still debated. Now, luckily for us, in spite of what the television channels would like us to believe, it's not only politics which drives the world. There were other people who were listening to the scientists who were talking about moving away from fossil fuels, and therefore some interesting things have happened over the last couple of decades. In 2000s, many people have tried to test or create pilots around how can we move away from fossil energy. There were two routes that were being explored at that point in time. One was focused on renewable energy and the other was the nuclear route. Now, interesting developments happened in 2010s. In the renewable energy sector, firstly, the hardware costs dropped very dramatically for a variety of reasons. Comparatively less progress has happened in the nuclear sector. It has been slowly addressing various challenges that were faced, but some big accidents and so on. So nuclear has sort of taken a back seat, and a lot of focus has been on how the renewable energy sector evolves. Now, interestingly, three different routes have come up. One is what gets talked about a lot, and that is the large renewable energy installations. We get to hear a lot about so many gigawatts of energy generated and so much biofuel being produced and so on and so forth. However, has large RE really met what was expected from it? If we look at the statistics, the existing fossil fuel energy base is still very much there. Large RE, both on electricity or fuel front, has not been able to replace that. Whatever additional energy infrastructure or energy generation that has been put in place in this century, part of that has been taken up by large RE, which means that what large RE has achieved is it has only reduced the increase in fossil fuel use, but every year we are still increasing fossil fuel consumption. So this route in itself is not going to take us to a solution of climate change. There are a couple of other things which are emerging, and that is distributed renewable energy and decentralized renewable energy. Distributed means you generate in various locations, which addresses one big challenge that large RE faces, which is that of space. So wherever, whatever little space is available, whatever renewable energy source is available, you generate electricity, you produce biofuels, and then put it in a centralized distribution system. That is what distributed RE basically means. There are challenges. There are technical challenges and logistical challenges because you have varied inputs coming from multiple locations, and all of that has to be aggregated, and still you have to deliver a high quality uniform service. So there are challenges to be solved there. In decentralized renewable, you generate locally and also use the energy service locally. This has also been successfully demonstrated both in terms of electricity and fuels. The main challenge here is that of intermittency of renewable energy, and therefore having high quality storage systems becomes a basic requirement. However, in 2010s, we have also seen a lot of positive movement in developments of particularly electric storage systems. We still have some catching up to do as far as thermal batteries or very safe, secure fuel storage systems are concerned. So there are challenges in both distributed and decentralized, but both of these have common starting point. And the way I look at it is that the smart microgrid is sort of an amalgamation of both of these routes, with the additional new developments in smart technologies, artificial intelligence, etc. coming in, which can address some of the issues around diverse generation bases, which have to be then combined together to deliver both energy services locally and put it into a common distribution system. a smart system will manage all of these requirements in a way that the energy services can be delivered in the most economical and most efficient way. And therefore that has to be the way forward. Microgrids, smart microgrids have been demonstrated in the context of electricity, but we believe that it is possible to implement that in other energy carriers also. And ultimately it will have to be, I mean, logically, if you think about it, this is the only logical way forward to achieve the mandate globally of energy transition in a way that it addresses climate change and also addresses the energy equity aspect. Because that is also the disparity in energy access is also a challenge that we should not forget about in trying to solve the environmental challenges. So this is, I believe, is the map which on the background of which today's discussion can be sort of posited. We are going to focus in this discussion primarily on what is possible in the Pune metropolitan region, and I think that is a good starting point. Pune has shown the way forward in many social, economic, industrial challenges. This is a new challenge that we are facing globally and also in the India context. I think this is the right place. We are the right people to show the way forward. So this I sort of I thank both PIC and CSD for this timely initiation of this discussion and involving us, the DRE community, which includes now both decentralized and distributed renewable energy people. We are very enthused to be part of this discussion and looking forward to taking this forward with all of you. Just one thing which I would like to mention before I stop is on 7th February, CLEAN is organizing a decentralized renewable energy forum in Pune. Some of our collaborators are already in this room, but I invite everyone to be part of this initiative also. Do drop me a line so that I can share more information about this with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karve ma'am. Because Abhay sir joined in a bit later, just wanted to introduce all to Abhay Vaidya sir. He's director at Pune International Center. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now I would like Mahesh Devdar sir to take the discussion ahead on our session. So we have 3 sessions, and each session we have allotted around 30 minutes. So I request everyone to, because we have some time constraints to finish the event on time. So we'll have to cover each one of you in the time allotted. So yes, Mahesh sir, you can take over.
Thank you, Shalvi. A warm welcome to all of you. I think the stage has been set as to what we want to discuss. So just to kind of get into the 3 areas that we thought we will focus on today. But before that, my introduction, my name is Mahesh Devdar. I work with PIC on Energy Research Project. I also work at the intersection of Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics. We are doing some initiatives at Gokhale Institute. One of them, by the way, is implementation of smart microgrid. So we have tried a bit over there. We have reached up to the design stage. And that's where it was a timely event, because now the idea is to learn from all the practitioners on the ground and see how we can actually make it happen moving forward. So when we looked at whole smart microgrid, and of course we know now what we are talking about, but the 3 challenges or the 3 areas of challenges came out clearly for us. One is the technology landscape, because microgrid is not just one technology that we deploy and it gets done. There are a lot of different technology components that need to work together as a sort of orchestra in a way. So there is of course distributed resource energy resources, there is storage, there is controller, what we call SCADA kind of systems. There is also demand management, because in today's world, you know, gone are the days where generation used to follow demand. now demand has to also follow generation with the intermittency that is there in the overall grid. So demand response is another important aspect. So these are all the things that will make our smart microgrid work. So the first topic I want to table is to discuss about the maturity of these technologies, number one. Number two is also the interplay between these technologies, because we know we have experts from different fields, small wind, solar, and how do they complement each other, how do they work with each other, the controllers, the energy flow. So there are a lot of those things that need to work really well to make it happen on the ground. So that is first area that I would like to just table, and if you can start with that. Just couple of quick points. You can just use the microphone whenever you speak so that we are able to capture that, number one. Also, number two is if you can introduce, so whenever you speak, just introduce yourself, your role, your organization, so that all of us get the context, and then we'll be able to collaborate. We have a very good participation today, people from different industries, different expertise. The last point I would request is to speak with your personal experiences. There is a lot of learning that all of us will get when we hear about your experiences. So really that will benefit all of us. But with that, I'll just throw it open. The first, as I said, different sources of energy, small wind, solar, storage. Feel free to just jump in and start, sharing your views, thoughts, especially from PMRDA perspective. So that's the quick update, but the floor is open. Yeah.
Good morning. This is Dr. Patni from MSCDCL. I don't think to introduce about the organization. Everybody knows it. Basically, what Sir was talking about the policies. Sir has headed MEDA in 2005. Now we are into 2024. So things have changed a lot. Today we are. When it was 2016, DISCOM used to stay away from the solar things, because rightly it was our survival's issue. Currently the world policies have changed, so we are very rigorously working for rooftop net metering, the grids, because by 2030 we have planned 5,000 megawatt from solar to cater the loads of the agriculture. So sir must have dreamt about this in 2005, and it is happening in 2024. So that is one part. I am just focusing on the opportunities, because if we are able to convert all these opportunities into reality, the session is very helpful for that. Secondly, 1 crore rooftop in a year, Pradhan Mantri Suryodaya scheme, which is very ambitious scheme. The figures today I have are only 1,16,000 in Maharashtra, rooftop net metering. So when we talk about 1 crore, long way to go. And if we can achieve that, definitely everybody's purpose will be solved. So initially DISCOM had floated a tender for 25 megawatt. The experience was very bad because vendors were new, technology was new. So even my officers were not trained for that. So 25 megawatt scheme ended only in 3 megawatt. After only 3 years period, it was only 3 megawatt. Recently on 18 January we have closed the 50 megawatt scheme. So the figure is 35 megawatt. So a good thing, but still not covered the entire quota available. So we are looking forward for that whatever available. The rooftop net metering can survive, can solve many of the issues, because it is the easiest way, sort of microgrid for the individual, and carbon credit, carbon emissions, support to that clean initiative, everything will be covered. The awareness is not there, and the part which this forum, I think it is my personal opinion that this forum is always discussing with the experts, and the expert talk in the AC chambers and deliver our thoughts, but why this has not happened, why the 50 megawatt is not completed, why the 25, you can learn this from the field people. the vendors issues, the implementers issues, customers perspective, because customers still want more subsidy. Now when it is 40% subsidy, still they are not happy. Customers mindset in India is like that, give us everything free. They think that I have paid the 500 rupees, the required fees for the rooftop, and then somebody will come and install it. So that part is there. Vendors are not giving the correct information. So our main focus should be on educating the vendors, educating the customers. If we can do that, we have taken a target of 25,000 net meter connections within 45 days. Very ambitious. So if we all can support it, definitely the purpose of the meeting will be solved. So there are a lot of opportunities. If we can focus jointly on these opportunities, definitely the purpose will be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, Patni sir. Go ahead, please.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Raghunath Iyer. I am the Chief Technology Officer for Network Security at a company called Qualys. I am here because somebody sent me an invitation. Actually, Shalvi sent the invitation. Somebody recommended my name. I dreamt of being independent in 2002, independent for water, for power, and for waste management. So I have an independent house. So I went off grid in 2010, much before anybody here knows about solar power. So I got my own panels. I survived off grid from 2010 to 2016 December, when finally net metering was allowed. And 2016, I must have been the third person or fourth person. No, it had. So I had survived off grid with my own economic calculations, no government subsidy and all that, right? I said to myself, this is the economics that will work with lead acid battery, with 2 cycles of changes, with good lead acid battery that can give me good life cycle time and all that. I'm an electrical engineer by training and afterwards some computer science. So I did my own evaluations and I said, okay, with 2 cycles of lead acid battery change, getting the right lead acid battery, I can still be economically positive at solar panel prices then, not today's prices, right? So I'm talking of 2010 solar panel prices, 120 rupees per watt. 180. It was 180 then, but I got it at 120 rupees a watt. So then I championed the cause within our mohalla. We have about 50 societies in an area called Baner Pashan Link Road. I have given a number of talks. I have given presentations on economics. I have told folks, forget the government subsidy. It will never come. Sorry to say to this audience, right? Sorry to say to this audience, because the challenges of moving the machinery is beyond the common man. There are many societies that have still struggled to get subsidy. So don't build your hopes on subsidy. Subsidy is a mirage. So I've told folks, here's the economics. Within 3-4 years, your RO is there. Go ahead. And I should say that in our 50 societies, about 30 have rooftop solar. Okay. Now, as Patni sir mentioned, there are a number of vendor knowledge is pathetic. Okay, they make promises that they cannot live up to, right? Even panels that are supposed to last for 10 years and so on, start degrading earlier. So one such instance in a community is enough to dissuade others from adoption. I have been fighting with one vendor for a friend for the last 3 years now. 3 rounds of panel changes, right? 1 round of inverter change. So when these kind of experiences percolate through the community, then adoption becomes a challenge. I have been lucky. I also had a bad start. I had a bad start. I had to get my entire panel changed. Luckily, the vendor was supportive, and then he understood my argument and reasoning, and then they said the panels were the system actually the problem is the system integrators. System integrator community is really terrible. Really terrible. Fabrication is terrible. So while the electronics and the panels are all nice, total implementation is shoddy. Okay? So that said, I do believe that this is the way, this is very feasible, provided that we put our heads together and make the right policies. I was saddened sometime in 2020 or 2019 when there was this move that finally net metering was well in place. Then they said we will go, what's the other alternative? Gross metering, right? So they said let's go gross metering, and I said this is a regressive step, right? I know the MSED still has to survive, but this is not the way to make it survive. This will just kill the whole journey. Yeah. And then there was the other one, take places like places where there is intermittent connectivity to power, Bhugaon or Pirangut or such places. There, if I have literally in a week 3 days of shutdown, my whole viability goes off completely. This whole economics won't work out. I had recommended to folks that they do hybrid, but then I look at the policies, then they say, no, hybrid you will be paying more to MSEDCL. There are penalties, almost, right? So then, I mean, to me, it's very evident that if we can get every society to power their society and deliver with storage, yeah. I'm talking of storage, and I'll come to storage in a second. Yeah. We have to do education. A lot of education and help people understand the economics, not depend on subsidies. The storage part of it, I would urge people here to look up a gentleman's talk series. The gentleman's name is Tony Seba, TonySeba. So listen to Tony Seba. Lithium ion battery prices are collapsing and exponentially downwards. I had asked folks, a few friends, whether we would like to get into battery recycling, but nobody showed interest. I talked to some scientists in NCL. They said, no, this is all pipe in the sky dream and all of that. But I think that's the way it will happen, and we should pursue storage at grid scale or microgrid scale as being a way forward.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. I think we have the representative from IESA, Netra, so maybe if you can just talk to us about the storage, the challenges, and also the customer awareness. I think that's a very valid point, which Patni sir also mentioned. How do you enthuse customers to implement the solutions?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Netra Valavalkar. I represent Customized Energy Solutions as well as India Energy Storage Alliance. So we have been working with lot of commercial industrial consumers to first of all help them into the renewable, their roadmap. And as we all know, whenever anyone thinks about the renewable energy, there are two things. It's on-site as well as off-site. In last many years, there were some uncertainties about rooftop solar, on-site integration of solar, because of having the limitations on net metering. So earlier there was no limitation, then in between they said that 10 kilowatt, then they came up with the 500 kilowatt limitation for net metering, and recently I think it is very much friendly policy that MSEDCL, it's up to 5 megawatt or your contract demand. So that was one thing when commercial industrial consumers were not even they were hesitant to take any decision. They were aware that, okay, rooftop solar can help them generate renewable energy. It will be cost effective. So techno-commercial analysis is not very difficult. It is a viable option. But whether I can really do it and what kind of a policy will be in place. Other thing for large commercial industrial consumer is what the rooftop is not enough for their own consumption. So the other option is open access, the wheeling renewable energy from the remote plant. There again there was an uncertainty that in Maharashtra that whoever has rooftop solar, they have to go for gross metering, whatever they generate that they have to give it to MSEDCL and then only they can purchase open access. So that was another hindrance that they were taking time for decision again. So taking a decision, timely decision also makes difference. So there that was a point. Now I think more or less it is very clear that both the things can happen together. Still we are waiting for guidelines from MSEDCL and SLDC. So that is something which will definitely help having the decentralized solar as well as open access solar together in India. Coming to batteries, he's absolutely right that right now in India, renewable energy installed capacity is around 40%. But it is installed capacity, whereas in terms of energy, it is around 16%. So it is very small. But as we are growing with more and more renewable energy, it is very important to have a balanced grid, having the supply demand balancing, and there again to match that grid frequency, having storage on the grid is very critical. And you may be aware that SECI has come up with lot of these RFPs right now. Earlier the RFPs were only for renewable energy, that I want to put 500 megawatt of solar, 1 gigawatt of solar, but the recent tenders are FDRE. FDR is fixed and dispatchable renewable energy. Lot of utilities would like to have renewable energy, but they cannot just absorb renewable energy as it is, because it is intermittent energy. Now they want that load following renewable energy. Renewable energy has to be a dispatchable, and that is where the integration of energy storage on grid scale, it may be at the generation side, renewable energy generation side, or it can be anywhere on the grid, which will help grid maintain the frequency. So those projects will come up. I think the timeline is 18 months to 24 months. So solar plus wind plus energy storage is going to be there. We also work for the rural microgrids, and Priyadarshini madam, you may be aware, Nitin. So there we had in fact realized that whenever the CSR funds were utilized to do some rural microgrids, within few months, within 6 to 8 months, the microgrids were not working because batteries were not working properly. Batteries were, the total microgrid was not sized properly, and even the preventive maintenance of batteries were not happening. And that is where the batteries were failing, and then the microgrids were again, the areas were back to the, so that is where with Clean Network itself we came up with the handbook how to manage the lithium lead acid batteries for rural microgrids, because these are really remote places. You cannot just go frequently there to maintain them. So that is something which can be done with the larger communities. And I think the last point was about yeah, and capex and opex. So there as well, there is a clear thing. In Maharashtra, it is clear that okay, rooftop solar can be in capex or opex. We recently came to know in Madhya Pradesh, for having rooftop solar, you have to have a capex involved. If somebody is going for the OPEX model, then that rooftop is considered as open access, and one has to pay the cross subsidy surcharge or grid support charges to utilities. So many things are coming into picture. I think Maharashtra has good policies right now, and it can be definitely taken forward. Yeah.
Great, thank you, thank you. I think one thing that comes out clearly from both the speakers is the operation and maintenance part of it. The panels get broken, the battery maintenance. So I think from the developer perspective.
I have one last word on batteries. Batteries are very poorly understood. Okay, so when you have large-scale batteries connected together, you need a good battery management system.
Yes.
Without battery management systems, you are going to get really subpar or subpar performance out of the battery. You will ruin the battery faster without a good battery management system. And folks don't understand this. Even automobile people are just about picking up. So if you focus on the battery management, batteries can give really good life. I got 7 years life out of lead acid battery.
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. My name is Nitan Mate. I represent a company called Sea Green Solutions, and I also work very closely with PIC and GIP. We worked on the design of their microgrid and things like that. I'll start from where he stopped. Battery management. I have seen in Sundarban area in Sagar Island old microgrids which had 8, 9, 10 years working batteries of lead acid. So if you want to make it work, it works, and this is something that I am talking about. In 2003, it was already working for 10 years. So technology-wise, we are talking about very rudimentary technology, but things still work. And that is something that we have to keep in mind, that renewable energy is something where if you want it to work, it will work. So technology is available, which technology to use, how to use it, and how to make sure that the design is right is extremely important, because there are certain charging rates, discharging rates which one has to design with. And what happens is, as you said, you talked about vendors. People want to give low cost solution, and while providing low cost solution, they provide low quality solution. It is insufficient solution. So it is not the problem with technology, it's the problem with shortcuts to the technology that people want to take, and that is where the failure actually begins. And then the renewable energy gets bad name, which is something that we all have to be very careful about, and we should be looking at that in that perspective. I'll also talk about a little bit more in terms of what Priyadarshini was saying. When we talk about energy, it's not just electricity. It is all forms of energy that we want to talk about. And that is why we, even at some of the solutions we talked about in case of, Gokhale Institute, we were saying that, okay, let's have a grid, but not necessarily solar. It could be a biogas grid, which is producing electricity at will, and then it is also producing heat. The biogas generator produces heat, which can be used for heating or cooling, whichever way possible. And then you have a microgrid which is capable of delivering what you want at the time you want. And there also you can talk with MSEDCL and say that, okay, at what point in the time during the day you want us to put electricity in the grid. Maybe we will put it at that time. Because now that we are talking about energy storage, and that's where I want to come at. Energy storage is not necessarily in the form of batteries. It can be in the form of biogas. So you are actually producing fuel, and you are producing energy at will when you want it and however much you want it. And so, for example, in case of Gokhale Institute, if 600 kilowatt hours per day is what we want to utilize, we can talk to MSEDCL and say that 600 kilowatt hours a day I am able to generate. You tell me when you want. I will give you that, and I will connect with your grid. Because with biogas, that gives me the opportunity to deliver the electricity to you. If you want 300 kilowatt hours in 2 hours, 600 kilowatt hours, I will deliver that to you. But then you allow me to do net metering with that. So things like that are possible with microgrids. And other project I would just mention a little bit. We have a concept of project called Samera. It is actually sustainable alternatives microgrid for empowering rural areas. So there we are talking about gas for cooking, there we are talking about electricity, there we are talking about heat, which can be used for cooling, and we are talking about fertilizer, we are talking about drinking water. So we are talking about entire resource and entire requirements to be fulfilled with the help of a microgrid, which has a smart controller. So we have also got designs for the controller. We have patented a controller which can talk to grids, adjacent grids, and decide which form of energy is to be exported or imported. And that is the future of energy. I see future of energy as a network of smart microgrids. That's the future of energy in India. And technology-wise, I think everything is possible. Thanks.
Just to add one thing, you might have heard yesterday itself, Karnataka has actually come up with the draft for peer-to-peer trading for rooftop solar. So if you have larger roof and if you can have that, because open access trading is always there, but rooftop peer-to-peer trading, it is again an innovative concept. Yeah.
Just a minute. Sir, एक minute.
Okay.
Now we are talking about the other states. I am not sure we are aware about the Maharashtra's policy because we have the best policy. Group net metering, Maharashtra is the first state to bring it. If you have house at Amravati, you have house at Kolhapur and you want electricity for your house in Pune or company in Pune, we can give it. So group net metering is the biggest thing what MSCDCL has brought, but we are not talking about our policies. Well, that is as a government, sir must be feeling the thing कि जो है ना वो जो नहीं है उस पे बात ज़्यादा होती है. तो we have that. Then MERC has given approval not to charge the surcharge till 5,000 megawatt.
Till you have that installed capacity of 5,000.
Earlier it was up to 2,000 megawatt, so up to 5,000. So till that time I will get it at. So that is there. Then the net metering for up to 5 megawatt. So we are also trying, but what the intellectual people expect, that forget about the DISCOM survival. Let us talk about the technology and the, but we are serving for the larger masses. So think in that way also.
Banking is done now. That banking is for 1 year or it is like estimable.
Yes, sir. It is accumulated for a year and then it is given. Now,
What is thinking about that? People talk about the banking should not be that 1 year.
but the thing have changed that we will give it.
They at least pay back. So I'm happy. Yeah. I mean, at the purchase power agreement prices that they buy, if I have excess banked, I have enjoyed the money that they give back.
But I think the change we have done. Sorry. Sir, currently what he must have got is the adjustment in the bill. The proposed thing is that we will give it in cash. 50% of, if you have you owe 1,000 rupees to me, I will give 500 cash back. So that way we are changing. Maharashtra is the best policy maker for the solar things.
This
So let us try to.
This has made my day because I was there during 2005-06. It was very difficult to talk to DISCOM, and I had to punish DISCOMs, including your Mumbai Suburban and Tatas and MSCDCL. 495 crores as RPO obligations. That was the penalty. And my secretary was the chairman of the companies and I was his subordinate, and he said, you are punishing me now. So, but from there to here, it made my day. I mean, it's a
power shortage to power surplus is the motto, and we are moving in that direction. 426 gigawatt is our installed capacity, sir. The
and
third largest
RE
producer.
is now 19%. How much?
Yes, it is in the range of 15 to 20%, varying to states. But we are moving ahead in the positive direction. Let us think about it.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I am Amol Shende. I represent Wish Energy Solutions. We are into manufacturing of small wind turbines or micro wind turbines, and we export it to around 40 countries in the planet. It is a core component of a off-grid solution. Compared to India, the number of sunny days are less abroad, and hence it becomes a vital solution there, and winds are really good there compared to India. So India is blessed with sunny days, so definitely solar is the one thing to go. So when we are talking about smart microgrid, so there are two aspects to it. One is connecting to the main grid and surviving off grid. Okay, so so we have to understand, or we have to deliberate on why we have to go for smart microgrid. So understanding that why is very important, because as of now MECDCL or any grid is equipped enough to reach to the last mile and supply power to them. So why getting off grid is the big question we have to understand, and if we really are able to understand why we should do it, then it becomes easy. So first part is the subsidy. If you look at like the distribution companies are giving lot of, or the central government itself is giving lot of subsidy for renewables, but where is that subsidy getting hit? So if I understand if I come to fragment it, so it is the solar cell, which is majorly manufactured by China, and directly or indirectly the subsidy amount goes to China. So that is the why, what I want to understand, make it clear, and that's why we have to go for off-grid or microgrid. And then comes the question of affordability. If your microgrid is affordable, then only it will penetrate more. Because if it is not affordable, then it will die its own death. Because the one question is, when I talk about microgrid, there is a capex involved from an individual side or from a industry side or commercial side. So making it affordable is also one question. And then when we ask the other question, where is the subsidy going? So where do you want to put the eggs on? So do you want to put the eggs all in one basket, which is grid connection of renewables to the grid, or do you want to portion it somewhere in the microgrid or off-grid section? So that is where the subsidy or the ratio of helping out to the entrepreneurs is required to be done. The third thing is standardization. So everyone is kind of experimenting with how to implement it, but the root cause is standardization. If you do the standardization properly, then definitely implementation point of view, it becomes easy. So we have seen that the entire process of MECDCL, they have done it properly. Everything is kind of standardized, it is written well, and then it is implemented from top to the bottom level. So off the grid and smart grid also have to follow this process, because standardization will help to make it scalable. The third thing with smart grid is the battery component, which needs to be understood completely. Currently it is a black box, and when we talk off the grid or smart microgrid, it comes in the play, but how does it talk to the inverter, and how does it talk to the grid, and how is it standardized across all the manufacturers? That is where something has to be deliberated, written it down, so that scaling it up or implementing becomes easy. The policies definitely play a vital role in doing it, and I thank MECDCL or MERC for doing it. The policies currently are microgrid or off the grid, friendly, and even the grid is also, it is not solar specific. Maharashtra policy is it is not solar net metering policy, but it is renewable net metering policy, which actually paves way for all the components of renewables to join in. So that is how it should be done, and it should be done then definitely for off the grid and smart grid also. I know there is a lot of pressure to deliver, but definitely if we follow this, then it could be done properly.
So thank you. I think we want to also get into the next area, which is actually, it gives me a segue, because scaling the microgrid. One is making the technology work, but replicating it at multiple places and really scale it, which we have not been able to do as an industry. So I really want to get into that. But any other thoughts from the technology maturity perspective and interplay perspective?
I am from Husk Power System, and we are into microgrid from 2007 onwards. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. Yeah, my name is Bijit Biswas and I'm associated with Husk from 2011. And as you know, Husk, so we started our microgrid by, at that time solar was not feasible. I mean, it was costly. So we started with biomass plant running using fossil fuel, I mean, using the fuel as rice husk. So from there in 2011 we moved to solar when we thought that solar will be feasible. We started with DC microgrids, which was like powering non-connected small villages. So we were able to supply basically.
Going off.
Okay.
Turns off.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, from there, people's aspirations changed, and they started saying that we want, AC power, and so that we can run more appliances and things like that. And luckily, solar prices came down, and in 2015, we installed our first 24 by 7 mini grid, which comprised of solar, battery, and biomass. So it was unique, not just in India, but I think across the world. Not many people had done it. Some institutions, some organization did it only at the you can say experimental level, but we were able to actually scale that up and take it to the level where we were providing actually service and generate revenue basically to sustain the business. So it was not just funded by some funds. It was actually like the capex was funded, but then the operations was sustainable. Today we have 200 plus microgrid in India, and we also have gone to Nigeria, where we, I mean, in sub-Saharan Africa, where we are expanding. So what I wanted to say is that it is feasible. It is feasible. It is feasible to scale. We have to get down to the devils are in the details. So you have to get down to the details. All the talks we had just now, the battery, the panel, the design, everything has to be precise. Everything has to be designed specifically for that. It cannot be generic. You cannot just copy paste designs. You have to understand the requirement and then design it accordingly. Lead acid battery, as you know, cannot support high C rates, discharge rates. So luckily, again, lithium prices are coming down, and we have just started right now moving from lead acid to lithium. And we feel that today with lithium also, we will be able to get the levelized cost of energy what we require. So again, with lithium, it is much easier to manage. Little bit more complex in terms of electronics, but it will support high C rates, which means that when suppose say 10 customers at night switch on their heavy appliances, lithium battery would be able to sustain without degrading itself. So which was, and what I would like to say is one thing is missing today in our system is integrated mini grid, or what you call integrated with the grid completely, because no policy is there. But we have started doing this in Africa, Nigeria, where they have given us like few villages where we can put up our grid, and they will remove their own grid, and they will give us directly high voltage supply, and beyond that it is our responsibility to power those communities. And then there will be a long-term agreement with how long we will sustain, what is the minimum supply the grid will provide, and things like that. And I think that can be a game changer in India also. Why? Because discoms are making losses in rural areas, because there are remote areas where they have to take their grid and those areas can be supported by mini grid at much reasonable prices, and then discoms don't have to basically bear that cost. They just need to put in their high voltage line somewhere, and beyond that those mini grids can sustain on their own. Community can basically, what you say, basically take charge of their grid. So they know that if we want electricity, we need to run this. So they themselves will make sure that it is running. And we have been operating like in rural areas only, and that to very remote areas in Bihar, UP, like again very remote, close to Nepal borders. Those areas are really remote areas. We have been seeing that people over there can be trained, and we have local electricians, local engineers, local people operating our plant. So it is quite feasible to engage local people.
Sure.
Okay. It is quite feasible to basically sustain this mini grid. That's our experience, and we are pretty confident that anybody who gets into this and puts their mind in and technology can do it.
Sure.
And of course, last point is of course technology. Today we have AI technology coming in. We are in process of implementing AI technology to make sure we get solar forecasting, we get load forecasting built into our microgrid to make sure it's correct, and we always get the cheapest levelized cost of energy.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I think what
Why we don't require microgrids in India? Because all the 5 lakhs plus villages are electrified. So we already have the network. What he was talking about, the areas where there is no electricity, we have declared that in March 19 all the villages, and they were electrified. Now if there is no light, it is because they have not paid the bill. So don't think like that they are not electrified. They were electrified. The one thing, and what he was talking is 15 seconds. Subsidy, where it goes. So Atmanirbhar Bharat, for subsidy only DCR panels are allowed, and DCR panel prices are higher. So think about that also.
I feel like a person who's coordinating the debates on television, so I'll allocate you time. But the idea is to also cover additional topics. I just want to throw it open because that also needs to be discussed, which is about the scaling. So what I hear from everybody is that technology is mature. We have deployed several microgrids. Of course, the objectives can be different. At some places it is energy access. At other places it's more around resilience, reliability. So, you'll need microgrids for different purposes. But overall, the technology seems to be there. Other countries have also, implemented that. So, I want to throw that question, why we have not been able to do it, why we have not been able to scale it. And I think a couple of points I want to bring out is standardization is one aspect that we need to look at, because every microgrid is a customized solution. You want to look at the energy needs of that facility or that geography and then work on that. And second point is the business model. I think how do we exploit the ESCO model that we have? We already have energy service companies which have been really successful outside India, but how do we kind of again make it work in Indian context and help ESCOs to develop these microgrids at a large scale and replicate it at multiple places. So I just want to also throw this onto the all of you to just get your views. Yeah.
Just one comment about Husk Power, and he talked about standardization, and I really commend these guys for standardization. When the technology was not enough mature, they were actually running microgrids in very remote areas with the technology at that time, and the standardization was in maintenance. Their maintenance schedules were so rigorous, whether you have to, whether you want it, whether it is failed or not failed, these are the things to be done daily, these are the things to be done every other day, these are the things to be done every 7 days, every month, and whatever, and these components have to be there in storage. their microgrids actually never failed. And standardization is something that they had done. They had really worked very hard. I know this because I used to work for Kirloskars, and they were suppliers for gensets for these guys. And we knew that Kirloskar gensets with them will always work, with others they may not. So that is the thing that you have to remember, that when you want to standardize, it's not just the standardization of the specs, it is standardization of the operating procedures. That is extremely important. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you wanted to add something, sorry.
I am from the PMRDA. In fact, I'm continued to be in PMRDA for some time more, and it's very nervous moment for me to speak about PMRDA in front of my boss, who was my commissioner at that time. I was just trying to relate the discussions with the initiatives of the PMRDA. I'm Vivek Kharwadkar. I've been in PMRDA for last 8 years. Now I'm looking after the development plan of PMRDA. Earlier I used to work for Metro, Hyperloop, and many things assigned by Zagade sir to me at that point in time. So I was trying to relate our discussions with the functioning of the PMRDA. There can't be an opportune time than this for us to participate in this process, because we are in the process of finalizing our development plan, which is already published. It's in the public domain, and suggestion objections are received, and now we are supposed to forward those suggestion objections with modifications to the government for final approval. In that context, this discussion is bound to have some influence on PMRDA to move in the right direction in terms of energy RE usage in the PMRDA area. Right now, PMRDA, for being local planning authority, we are interested with the job of assigning the land use for various users, which may include the use of the RE, and in that context, some modifications can definitely be considered for promoting the RE use. Microgrid per se is a new jargon for the PMRDA. Citizens' participation is definitely important now. Zagade sir emphasized very emphatically, so to say, on local bodies being at the helm in promoting the microgrids. That is a very important issue that can be considered by the PMRD also. We have 35 different planning units. We have 18 urban growth centers planned for the PMRD, 8 rural growth centers, and 9 talukas. Typically, in the land use system, these 35 planning units are going to be there. Now, these 35 planning unit, and essentially microgrid, as I understand from civil engineers' perspective, is the decentralized power management. So if that is properly reflected to the stakeholders, the message goes very clear. Now, otherwise, the microgrid becomes a very high-end terminology restricted to a few stakeholders and not to the real masses. So the decentralized power management can be considered by the PMRD with respect to these 35 planning units, and this is the way I carry forward my understanding of today's discussions. And then the biggest challenge lies in convincing the citizens for their role in the decentralized power management. I'll keep saying this word, decentralized power management, till the time I am here. So an important point is to how to convince people about the need to conserve energy, use the new technologies for REs, and contribute themselves towards the non-fossil fuel based energy consumption. It's very challenging job. The other day when I was traveling from Kolhapur to Pune, just day before yesterday, sir, it took 8 hours for me to reach here, whereas I could see the railways and the buses plying empty. So this is the way the cars are being utilized by people, and our $5 trillion economy is going to be reflective of the number of cars we manufacture. It's nothing adverse about it. There is no criticism. The point is that till the time citizens are aware of the need to conserve energy and to participate physically, for somebody to use a public transport. Today you see that Curve Road is always blocked by traffic jams.
whereas the metro there is running virtually empty. Now people need to change their mind and ensure that they use the public transport. They physically share the strenuousness of when Jagdish sir was there in the PMC, he tried to impose the parking fees on the two-wheelers, and that was vehemently opposed by the stakeholders and the citizens, because they are used to kick start from the place they are originating and end at the place where they're descending. So this is the way the things are right now. You take the example of auto rickshaw drivers or the Ola cab people, they are actually spitting on the road because they are using their, so people are not really aware of what is really needed for the betterment of the society. So the same thing holds good with this microgrid concept. So it's very difficult for us to scale up their citizens like participation from this unhygienic level to the level of conserving energy through micro water grids. This is a big challenge we have. We do not know how to redress that, but nevertheless, for being from the PMRDA, what we would do essentially is to take home the confabulations that we have today in proposing some modifications which will enhance the use of the RE and also promote certain regulations which will further augment our efforts to implement those ideas. Again, the challenge is that whatever we do is only limited to formalized way of development. The unformalized way of development, which is almost 70% in PMR area, what I mean is the unauthorized constructions. There we can't really have much of a stay. So how would you ensure that they are also brought to the mainstreaming, in our initiatives is also needed to be discussed. Typically we say that we've done these many initiatives, but then they are restricted to only those people who are seeking permissions. So those people who really do not come forward for the permission would go unaccounted for in our initiatives. So we need to consider that aspect also in formulating our strategies. Thank you.
Can I say a few words about to this? Good that Vivek is here and he's representing PMRDA, and good that he has told that his plan is still being prepared. Of course, the DCR will come subsequently. We have still time to, integrate what is getting deliberated here. First thing is that what you can, is understand internally that what it means and propose it to the government. Very simple things like the townships coming in your areas or large societies having certain areas like 10 acres or 15 acres or whatever you have said, compulsorily microgrids in DCR. Compulsorily, when I say compulsory, this will incentivize. You cannot really restrict that, but you give some incentives to them. And also, you can promote the developers also, that if your buildings are going to be there, then green building concept. So microgrid concept can also be like initiated into this. Secondly, it's a very small issue, but we are allowing now towers more than 100 meters now. It's 170 meters now? More than that. Height. So see, like I'm giving a very small minuscule example, may not have any impact, but still as an example, we pump water all the way to the top and bring it down. So there is a way, like if you can take up the water and save energy in taking water to the top at middle floor somewhere, and if your DCR can be incorporated into that, these are the ways you can really think. There are many things you can incorporate in DCR, and there's time is still there. So good that and in fact this report is for you only. It's a PMR, so you are the one, and this exercise meant for you. They have designed for you, so you take the ownership. There are many such things. I don't want to take the time about how DCR can be an instrument or tool to own the smart microgrids. That is one thing. Secondly is about again, just to add, we had accelerated depreciation for wind energy, if people are aware of this thing. Can we propose, this group propose some such tool, financial tool for microgrids? If it was there, why not for microgrids? some such tool. I do not know in what form. So the Gokhale Institute can be a good, institution to think about, out-of-box solution on the lines of accelerated depreciation. Of course, it was, some people say it was misused, but still it gave, boost to the wind energy in the state and for that matter in the country. Then, of course, somebody said about the remote areas, and then I think you said, see, balancing of grid also, main grid, balancing of grid, this microgrid can be a support system. But technically, I do not know whether there are any studies carried out. So there could be some institution that can carry out to what extent the grids can be stabilized in the remote areas with microgrids. That can also be done. And another aspect like about the integration, like in PMR region, you have got lots of tracts of agricultural lands in the area, and especially where there are the eco-sensitive villages, where agriculture is going to continue to be there. And you have got many greenhouses there. Now, greenhouses is a subsidy of Government of India, that they invest heavily and large-scale subsidy. But if it is integrated with the solar system, like instead of greenhouses at the top, if it is solar top, then probably it will be merger of two things, and that can also be serving as a green, as a microgrid, local microgrid for that area. In fact, when I was MEDA, I had suggested the farmers are always under the stress all over the country, especially in dry areas, and dry areas are a very good source of solar. I mean, of course, some people may not be liking the word solar here, but I still like it because we have got the abundant power. I wanted to develop another scheme, which in fact was put it on paper, the energy farmers. Like you make them, give them subsidy or some kind of support, policy support, so that they become like the solar harvesters, solar power, so energy farmers rather than just becoming farmers. So if to start with in PMRD, these green houses can be energy farmers too. So some such integration of governmental schemes can also happen in PMR region. Thank you.
So, just to add to this quickly, so solar water pumps, that scheme is been now promoted, and there are a lot of solar water pumps, and we realize that the utilization is very low. So recently what we have done in Junnar is using the solar water, when there is a solar, there is a water pump, there is abundant water, but for agriculture it is not being utilized. So we have set up some additional solar panels plus batteries and water RO plant. So there is a rural economic development activity where even some revenue can be generated from that activity, and both the things are integrated with the existing scheme. So something like that I think you are referring to. Yeah, many opportunities, yes. Correct.
But many opportunities in the rural areas.
Yeah.
MSKVY is one of them. We are giving the rent to the farmers, 50,000 an acre, so which is very, very good, and it is, as you pointed, the areas where there is no farming in good way, there is no water.
I think again Maharashtra has taken that lead, because solar feeder separation is something that is Maharashtra has done.
When I am outside Maharashtra, people appreciate Maharashtra. When I am inside Maharashtra, people appreciate other states.
Now that should be taken to the Gram Sabhas. So people should know. The farmers are not aware. So it should be taken through the Rural Development Department every 26th January or 15th August. They have to have Gram Sabhas, and such schemes should be known to them.
So we have conducted many Gram Sabhas. For 1 lakh pump scheme, we have got 8 lakh applications.
Okay, I will stick to the main topic and will take very little time. But before that, I'm Vijay Patil. I live in Blue Ridge Township, and I'm one of the beneficiary citizen of all the government policies that we mentioned, the township policy and the net metering policy. So I thank all the people behind it. We did commission solar projects, rooftop solar project in 2019, 380 kilowatts, 2 crore total cost, 50 lakhs coming from the government. Okay, so I won't get into the details, but we are a success story, and I would like to connect to the main topic that you have tabled, which is how to you use the word scaling of the smart grids. So by that I assume you mean the replication of the smart grids at a larger scale. One idea that I would like to have your opinion is the financial model and the funding model, because I funded 15,000 of my personal money along with eight other residents, 800 flats, and we got this done. Now I would like to put more money on some smart grid which is getting developed anywhere in the India, and I should be able to invest my money. We have this tagline, mutual fund sahi hai. Where is the tagline? Something similar to that. So we need that, because I am not at all interested in investing my money in some company which is just going to exchange the money and shares. I want to make a difference on the ground, and I'm sure there are many people like me who have seen the difference and what it means. So if there is a financial model, if I can name some companies, there are Bangalore-based companies like Sunday Grid and all that. They are very new startups, but they are doing and exploring this model where I can actually get, and what they give in return of my investment is the reduction in the units of my home meter. So how it works out, maybe sir knows, but eventually I get that money back, maybe after 5 years, not immediately, but that's okay with me.
Absolutely. I think this is a very valid point in terms of creating the financial models, having the right, payback times and things like that. We actually are going to have a separate dedicated discussion on this post the break that we'll have, so that because apart from the customer awareness, how do we build that business model is something that we need to look at. But one aspect of the scaling that I want your inputs is also from the talent perspective. One example you gave is creating the livelihoods because of these microgrids. I think there is a lot of work that Vishal and his team has done in Northeast. I would like to hear your observations and how it helped people to achieve livelihoods. That is one aspect of human talent. But the other aspect also I would like to know is from the experts of these microgrids, because if we want to scale these, we need to design these microgrids, we need to deploy these microgrids. Again, microgrid is, we need to demystify. It's a lot of jargon and we need to simplify it so that people understand it. But we need right talent also for this. So from the developer perspective, and where do we get it from? How do we enable the rural and urban experts to deliver this faster and in a speedier way? So these are the 2 points I want to deliberate. Yeah. So Vishal, if you can just share.
Yeah, so good afternoon. My name is Vishal Toro. I am from Clean. So Priya has already described about activities that we do at Clean. So coming back to your point on microgrid. So there are 2 parts to it, that the microgrids at the rural settings where energy access is the basic concern, and the microgrids we are talking about in urban areas like Pune, PMRC area. As you mentioned, in rural areas where electricity grid is not reliable, there these microgrids are they play a huge role that we witnessed there also, and especially as now Husk Power is also involved in that, and several of our members are involved in setting up this microgrids there, and they create a lot of livelihood opportunities. So be it like from so solar pumps they provide, or any rural livelihood activities, be it from say local activities where they need power, and through that they earn extra income from that. So that is one aspect, that the rural settings where grids are not reliable, that is one thing. But coming back to the point of the today's topic, it is mainly about Pune region also. So and how to scale up that. So I think Zagade sir already touched upon few things, and what I feel, I just wanted to mention a couple of points here. It's to involve to have a larger ecosystem in the planning. That's what I meant. It's because now in this room we are like, developers are here, government agency people are there, but I think we should also involve a larger ecosystem players like builders, architects, and town planning department, because as you see in Pune, everywhere new constructions are happening, for example. So, but they are not aware of that, this sort of initiatives. So a more players should be involved in the discussions and the planning itself. Second, add to Jagdesh's point, is like convergence is again the main issue in India, everywhere. I mean, we work in northeast areas. There are a lot of schemes available from central agencies, from government agencies, their funding is also available. It is very misconception that funding is not there. But lot of funds are available at different schemes. But again, the problem issue is how to use that in constructive ways. And in that way, there should be some mechanism, as we are developing some roadmap, there should be a clear pointer should be there that how the convergence from different agencies will be there and who will be the anchor agency. Because normally it is like you do that, that sort of point fingering there. But there should be one agency who will have some danda in the hand that to push the objective. So that we should have a clear mention that who would be the actual agency who will be implementing this sort of activities. Second, I want to have this like some demo units we should have, because when we talk about smart microgrids, so what is smartness? So the smartness can come from, say, data monitoring aspects, SCADA is there, EV charging aspects are there, elements are there, net metering is there, then standardized appliances are there, energy efficient appliances are there. All that are part of that smart, that what we call a smart, but the beneficiaries don't know that, what is that. So that may include housing societies and commercial institutes. So maybe we can propose some demo units where actually people can see what is meant by smartness. So that is thing. One last point, always about solar, we say that is the land is constraint. Okay. And in some way it is true that in rooftop there is a competition between solar for electricity generation and solar for hot water. But there should be some survey within the city also that there are a lot of lands available, especially like Gokhale Institute, it's a big campus is there, and there is can be opportunity for bigger size projects, microgrids also there. But then there should be some business models where through where what the institute can earn more money also. So that is some points I wanted to.
Thank you.
Sir, I just want to understand one thing. Is there any real rural area model and how it works? Financing, how it works? Because when the bigger grids are not sustaining, how the microgrids are sustaining? So I just want to understand whatever time you give, sure. But I want to understand the economies of that.
Absolutely. Thing. I think let's do that post break, because there is this financial model is something we want to really discuss in detail, because without that all these great technology and all these policies, right policies, will not help us if it is not going to make business sense. So we really need to take a break.
One small issue what you mentioned about there is conflict between thermal and solar. So since all technical people are also, can there be hybrid thing, like has anybody tried that? So I mean that can also be like since we are talking about everything, that can be.
Actually, technology-wise, there was some work done in College of Engineering, Pune. These modules are called PVT modules, so photovoltaic thermal modules, and you can optimize the operating temperature of solar PV modules to around 50-51 degrees Celsius, where you get increased efficiency of solar photovoltaic, because otherwise they operate at around 70-75 degrees Celsius. So, and 51 degrees Celsius hot water is good enough for a lot of uses. So that way the overall efficiency of solar increases by, suppose it was going to be 17%, that will become 19%. Really? Okay, yeah. And then solar thermal, you have available heat. So that is coming out at around 60-65% of total. So overall efficiency goes very high.
Available.
It can be commercially available. It can be. Absolutely. There are some commercially available modules which are very expensive, but this, the way it was designed in COEP, I think the payback was in less than 6 months. Okay.
Thank you. I think the tea is waiting for us, so we'll take a break and we'll assemble again in another 10 minutes to discuss the financial model and all the topics around that. Thank you. Thanks.
Which includes financial models that we can discuss to scale up renewable energy, smart microgrids, or RE electricity in general. So with us we have Mr. Girish Narang from Power Trust. He has joined us online today. One second. Is he there? Yeah. Girish sir, can you hear us? Can you hear me? Yes, so I think you can start. So he'll be presenting us regarding his work in DREC initiative that they are working on, and he'll be talking about the financial aspects that they have working with for the microgrids or the smart microgrids. So yes, Girish sir, you can start.
Thank you and good afternoon to all of you. I did have the privilege to know all of you in person because this has been a mix of physical and virtual meeting. But I'm assuming that all of you know about solar, renewable, and possibly carbon credits and renewable energy certificates in general. I will take a few minutes to explain on that. This slide is very long. It's 17 slides here, but I won't be doing that because I am told to keep it precise. But of course, at the end of it, we can have questions, or you can get my email ID and contact number from Shalvi, and you can contact me later on as well if you have any queries. So I am from Power Trust. Power Trust is a Canadian company. We deal with renewable energy certificates. For those who are not aware of renewable energy certificates, they are very similar to carbon credits, and I hope that since you are in the renewable energy market, you know about carbon credits in general. We providing extra incentive, not taking anything green energy which you are producing, and that claim is bought by the global corporations to offset their scope 2 and scope 3 emissions. I can't explain on scope 2 and scope 3 emissions here because that would be too technical, but you can say that to achieve their net zero targets, they buy virtual renewable energy in the form of renewable energy certificates. Some of our clients are big corporations like Salesforce, Netflix, REI, Johnson & Johnson. These are some of our clients. We are a startup. There are a lot of companies already dealing with renewable energy certificates, but our USP is that we are focused on distributed solar energy. And in that also we are more focused on high impact category. So when I say high impact, most of the time village mini grids, so set up on the roof of charitable, educational or healthcare institution. These are the type of projects we have certificates from typical commercial industrial projects as well. But again, all of them is mostly distributed and I will see. Okay, so this is a little more detail about renewable energy certificates, that any kind of energy produces two commodities. One is the energy, which is taken by your customer. So just to clarify again that we are not buying the energy from you, we are only buying the virtual thing, which is the certificate. So I'm sure that some of you might be aware of the Indian Renewable Energy Certificate Program as well. In a way, we are competitive to that, or we are an option other than what you can sell on Indian Energy Exchange or Power Exchange of India. But our pricing, our terms are different from what you get from the Indian Energy Exchange. And not all the projects can be registered in an energy exchange, but there are projects which can be sold on the international market to the global players. This is the difference between a carbon offset and a renewable energy certificate. It's not a huge difference, but I think the major difference is between this scope 1 and scope 2. As I said, this could be a little too technical, but carbon offset actually offsets the scope 1, and that is why it is generally more popular. Renewable energy certificate only offsets scope 2 and scope 3. It is comparatively less popular, but getting more popular as more and more companies are getting their data centers or their you can say factories outsource services from countries like India or other Asian countries in global south. One GREC, as we say, distributed renewable energy certificate represents 1 megawatt hour of clean electricity, and we buy on megawatt hour basis. There is nothing more to explain here. Yes, so I think this could be something which might be interesting for you. One of the difference, as I said, that we actually deal in long-term contracts. So we don't say that you just set up a solar power plant and sell your power at the end of sell your renewable energy certificates at the end of the year to us. We sign up a long-term contract. When I say long-term contract, it could be 8 years or 10 years contract. We sign up with you and we give you a foresight, a predictability of revenues for a long term. So for example, you are setting up a 100 kilowatt mini-grid power plant somewhere in a remote village in India, and you sign up with us, we are paying $30 per megawatt hour. In rupee term, it actually comes out to approximately 2.5 rupees per unit, which is of course a very good amount for something which you are not selling physically, just virtually. And that is the additional incentive to make sure that you do such kind of high impact projects. So that extra incentive makes the projects viable, make it easier to take on some of the risky projects, and that's how we are helping you in overcoming some of the financial challenges. Whether this revenue is bankable or not, from our side, it is a firm revenue. It depends upon your financier whether they can consider this as a bankable project or not. But we give you a clear foresight and a confirmation that for 8 years we will keep buying whatever megawatt hour of electricity you will be producing from that high impact project. So in that, and one of the thing here is that it's built in US dollars. So if you have any kind of foreign currency debt, then you can kind of set it off in terms of payment from the money which you receive from sale of renewable energy certificates. Then it's mostly about our company. We are already working with some of the members of Clean, Pridarshini or Vishal. If any of you is here, might be able to give you more details. We have all done a webinar in past with the Clean members, so you can get more details from them. I won't go into a lot of more details given the time constraint, but this is one of the project partner, Hamara Grid. We are already working with. They are setting up rural mini grids in Nagaland, and we have been actively working with them since more than a year, helping them almost in every new mini grid they are developing in that state. And make just the process. So as a process, you have to first contact us. We will assess your pipeline, that how much you are going to install in future. We mostly deal in future contracts, not in the past contracts. So as I said, for the past contracts, you can deal with typical renewable energy certificate brokers, but for the future contracts, we are more interested in that because our customers are looking at more impact on the ground. So they want to see that the money they are paying for renewable energy certificates is actually bringing up projects on the ground. So we deal mostly in the future projects. You provide us your pipeline. We will assess the pipeline, explain to you the requirement in that country. So for example, here in India, we'll sign up the agreement with you, and then once the agreement is signed, you keep on installing the projects, sending us the generation data on every quarterly basis, and we keep on processing your invoice on the quarterly basis. So that is how we generally work. We don't contract with you until unless we don't have a demand. So if we have a demand, then only we will contact with you. So if there is a contract, then definitely you have a clear foresight of revenues. So that's all from my side today. I don't know whether I can take questions right now or at the end of the session, whatever Shali suggests.
Thank you, Girishi. That was a very good presentation. Do we have any questions for him? Because he's with us till 12:50, or we can have open discussion on just financial models, and whoever wants to contribute can contribute directly.
I think let's go ahead and start, sharing, our thoughts as well while he's there,
Yes.
and we'll take it from there. So just to start the conversation, maybe from Husk Power, is still. I just want to know, because you are doing this business, you have done 200 microgrids as you mentioned. So the financial model, the ROIs, how do they stack up, and how do you convince people on that? What has been your experience? It will be good to know about.
Though I am not from the financial background, I am basically from the technical background. As per as like we were talking about, what we have shown to our investor is, one thing is we are committed to run this microgrids for long term. That is important. We are there. And another thing is the commitment we make to the community. So whatever fund comes in, Basically, they are actually trying to serve certain communities and solve certain problems. So actually, are we doing that? So again, technology comes into play. We have like all our mini grids real time monitored with 1 minute data coming in real time. So so that gives the confidence to our investors that whenever they want to see.
Who are your investors? Where does the money come from?
So basically, Shell Ventures have been our partners, like they have invested, and then initially International Financial Corporation.
Eventually,
Yeah.
your customers also become investors?
Yeah. I mean, basically, when they are buying power, basically they are investing, right? Basically, indirectly they are investing into it, and
They are not investing; they are consuming.
yeah, consuming.
I'm saying some of them.
Till now, we have not approached that, but yes, we can do that. That is definitely a possibility. Another assurance is that our customers pay, and all our customers pay through prepaid meters. So that is very convincing to our investors, because it's not that you sell, you give the electricity and then you cannot recover. Initially, we had faced that issue, and we thought that prepaid meter is the solution, and it's working. And all our customer actually recharge through mobile app. We have our own mobile app, and that mobile app serves as the communication between customer and us. And just like any commercial, any like urban customer, they can raise their grievances over there. So all that aspect actually helps us get the funds, what is required, and the investment is required. And in 2022, our India operations, like at operational level, we so this year we of course were able to like get more funds to power like more microgrids. So we plan to double our microgrids from 200 to 400. In India, Nigeria, we plan to put up 50 mini grids. So it's again, I would say that there are a lot of investors in the field. I'm not expert in the field, but what is required, you show them the model which works, show them that the assurance that it will work for long term, and you will be actually really serving the customer.
I had few questions to Girish to ask. One is you said that it is your unit is 1 megawatt hour as one direct, right, Girish? So when I bring it down to the solar capacity, yeah. So when I put it down to solar capacity, it would be somewhere around 250 kilowatt solar off-grid project, right? Yeah, Girish, am I audible to you?
Yeah. So let me give an example in the terms I understand that. Yeah, I'm speaking.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, so what is the minimum?
If you're saying it's a 250 kilowatt of installed capacity, yes. You say what is the minimum size we take up?
Yeah.
There's some issue. Okay, so we don't have any minimum size. In India, we have done projects as small as 0.5 kilowatt.
Okay.
The only requirement we have is that we need a metering evidence. So when I say metering evidence, the ideal way is to get the data through a remote monitoring system. But we understand that in a lot of projects, you can't have a remote monitoring system for such a small thing. In that case, we need a monthly generation data in some kind of evidence. That evidence could be a file exported by the input, or it be even a manual data which somebody has taken care of as a logbook at that site. So the International Registry of Renewable Energy Certificate requires a metering evidence. So we just need a metering evidence, and there is no minimum size we are looking at. But of course, it will make sense for you if you have a large number of such small installations. If you come to us with just 5 systems or 10 systems of 1 kilowatt, that won't make sense for the transaction, because that would be such a small revenue that it won't would be beneficial in terms of the time devoted to the transaction.
And Girish, is it can an implementing agency avail the benefit, or is it the user who has to avail the benefit?
Actually, I have a question. Just hold, because I have a point here. That
So first about that, who can avail the benefit? In legal terms, the person who is owning the asset is the rightful owner of renewable energy credits. So let's say if your mini grid is owned by you and you are selling power, then you are, as a developer, you have full right to encash the renewable energy certificates. There are cases we are doing where the ultimate user is, for example, a farmer. So, for example, one of the developers we are working with, they install 10 to 15 kilowatt systems, off-grid system or hybrid system for rural businesses. Now, in that case, they generally sell the system to the user. So, they are not the owner. So, the ideal owner is the actual user. But given the complexity of the transaction, it is almost impossible for us to contact with each and every small business holder or a farmer or a consumer. So, we encourage the developer or whoever is the implementing agency to sign up with us. The only requirement we put there that a part of the benefit should go to the actual user, and a part of that can be kept by you as more like a management fee or a contracting fee or something which you are helping us or became.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Girish.
I think he answered the point that I wanted to bring up, that once you go grid tied, then you are no longer the owner.
There is one more thing I want to specify. And all the Southeast Asian countries as well. Now, I've been in Indian solar industry for 10 years now, but I know that in cases of the projects which are net metered, you actually can't trade the renewable energy certificates.
Exactly, that's what I was saying.
In those cases, the solar energy is utilized by the distribution company to offset their renewable purchase obligation. And there can be only one counting of the energy attribute. So since the DISCOM is already counting it as a solar purchase, you can't sell the renewable energy certificate.
Well, so Girish, my other question is that we are assembled here to discuss on the financials of smart microgrids, wherein there is a part which is grid connected and the other part is the off-grid part. So, if giving a situation where some of the part is driven by off-grid, so how do we position it to avail the DREC?
How much of that is off-grid and is not going back to the grid in terms of net metering? But before that, one more clarification. I am not saying that the grid connected systems are ineligible. I am saying that net metered systems are ineligible. And I will give you an example. So for example, in most of the states now there is a cap of 500 kilowatt for net metered system. And let's say there is an automotive industry who runs 365 days a year and they have set up a solar power plant of 1 megawatt. So they generally do it by way of installing a reverse power system, and they don't feed anything into the grid back. So they are not connected with grid in terms of net metering, but they are grid connected systems. I mean, the inverter is a grid connected inverter. So they can participate in our program. The only requirement is that the system should not be net metered. So if even in your smart microgrid, if the grid connected system is not net metered, you can use that also to sell RECs. That is on the grid connected part. On the off-grid part, if there is a clear generation which you can show that from the off-grid system this is the generation and that is not going to grid or that is not being counted in somebody else's renewable purchase obligation, then I mean you can contact with us, submit that data on a quarterly basis, and we will take the payment for that data.
Great. Thank you. I think quite valuable the way the direct model is working. But also I want to hear from other experts from Rely On. I think you are working on both CapEx as well as OpEx, BOOT kind of model. So how's been the experience, any learnings, anything that from the policy perspective, from the other incentive perspective, anything that you would like to share?
Yes. Okay. So couple of things. We find that solar water pump will become the best example of decentralized power generation, and the scale is very high there. We are talking about 50 million pumps in India, and right now maybe 500,000 have happened on solar, but the momentum is building there, and this will become private market to some extent in few years once the schemes go away. Just like in industry, the solarization is happening irrespective of subsidies today. Solar water pumping will happen that way. In Northeast, this under Jal Jeevan mission, the tap water supply, most of it is happening on solar water pumps, and it has multiple benefits there. The affordability of paying electricity bill or not paying the electricity bill by the villagers is very typical. So this solves the problem. Otherwise, those schemes won't work. So about 25% of country's power goes for water pumping, and so I think the focus on this as decentralized power generation will have much bigger impact. So I don't know whether it comes under microgrids or not. Secondly, this announcement of 1 crore household in a period of 5 years being solarized. Over here, the situation will change. Initially, lot more centralized plants have happened, and there was concern that decentralized solar plants are not happening as much. But they are happening, they would happen for two reasons. First of all, an individual is making a decision now, I want to go for it. And secondly, this 1 crore households getting solarized, that will have very large impact on the quantum of decentralized power generation. There are some challenges there. The concern is that we may have 1 crore inverters getting imported. There is no, practically about 95% of grid-tied inverters get imported today. And we need to build this supply chain. We need to take that challenge. Immediately the day this was announced, we at Redown Solar thought that we must start the work of manufacturing grid-tied inverters in India, and as a company will benefit from it, and also obviously all other reasons Make in India related. So these are the examples where decentralized naturally it need not be off-grid systems necessary. Even in fact, solar water pumps, they need to become grid connected. And there was a scheme for that. When you are not pumping, this power would be exported to the grid. But system is somewhat complex, and contractors didn't want it, so the work has not happened as much. There are probably a couple of thousand of them happen in Rajasthan and
Yeah, 50% of the energy that is wasted today will get utilized with little bit complexity in the system. That would probably add the cost of 10% approximately. Better electronics is required, that's it.
Right. Thank you, sir. So I just have one question to Girishji. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you mentioned one point where there's one condition where you as a private owner don't get the benefit of the credits, but the DISCOM, because it is transferred to DISCOM or something like that, right? So in that case, do we have a mechanism where DISCOMs could, they could get that benefit, or do you have any recommendations for them? Because in certain cases, we won't be getting those benefits directly, right? Especially in the urban areas where we are all connected to the grid. So can you enlighten us on that? Right.
As I mentioned that all the state policies have a specific clause that any energy which is produced by the solar project, which is under net metering or gross metering framework, that energy is used by DISCOM to satisfy its renewable purchase obligation. And if you issue a renewable energy certificate on the same energy, that would be a double counting. Double counting as a concept is not allowed. So even if your project is using, let's say, carbon credits, then you can't get renewable energy certificate. And similarly, if your energy is being used for setting off renewable purchase obligation, then you can't get the REC benefit for that. So that's a policy matter. I can't offer a support to you, but I mean that is what it is.
Okay, got your point. Maybe Mr. Patni, like, do we have such a policy where we can look into such credits, or is there
saying is correct.
Like, not this organization in particular, but is there a mechanism we can build for credits?
But what about the renewable energy that's been captive consumption, and the one that's exported, obviously, maybe because that goes into the power purchase part, right? So,
no, actually, sorry to cut you short here. Policies, the DISCOM installed 2 meters. One is the import-export meter, and one is a solar generation meter. And when they set up their RPO, they use the electricity generated by the solar plant and not what is exported from the system. So there could be a scenario that in the entire year there is not even a single unit which has been exported, because let's say the consumer is using everything 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but still they will get the benefit of entire generation of solar energy plant and not the exported one. So we have discussed this because there was a case study we have done specifically on this one, but unfortunately the net meter project is not eligible at all, so there is no leeway here. But thanks for taking that up.
Girish, is there a difference between IREC and DREC as a product segment?
Okay, as a product there is no difference. So we also use the International Renewable Energy Certificate mechanism, and it's a common registry. The registry name is ITRAC now. It used to be called IREC, now it's called ITRAC. And Evident is the registry which is enlisting all these devices. The ultimate technology or ultimate product is same. It's only the label. So there is a concept of label, that we have a different label called DREC. And when we issue the IREC, then there is a DREC label attached to it. So as a product, it's the same product. To large extent, it's fungible as well. So I mean, even if it is issued as a DREC, it can be sold as IREC. But if it is issued as an IREC, it can't be sold as a DREC. So it's not other way around. It's just one way fungible. But it's the same product.
Yeah, and I think you are valuing DREC. I think it is better valued than IREC because the cost that you mentioned or the price that you mentioned, that sounds on a higher side for DREC.
Yes. So I'll tell you an example. So we have many people working with us in India, and I keep on getting the feedback. So right now the IREC from India is generally sold between $1 to $1.5 per megawatt hour. But our pricing starts from $10 per megawatt hour. So there is a huge difference in terms of pricing.
Right. Okay.
So I think it's time for me to go. If there is any one last question I can take up, but I have a call at 1 p.m. So I have to
I think we are done here. Thank you so much for your valuable insights about the product, and I'm sure it will help all of us to understand it better and also make use of it. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can take my contact number from Shalvi, my email contact number, and if there are any follow-ups you want to discuss further about partnership, you can connect with me. I'm based in New Delhi.
Sure, great. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Good. One question before we wrap up is in the morning, Jagade sir was also talking about energy efficiency. You know, while we talk about smart microgrid, efficiency improvement is also a key lever that we should, really leverage, because, what we have seen in our studies, you can easily get 20-25% returns on the energy efficiency improvement. So any inputs on that front, your experience, the learnings, anything that you would like to share?
There is a Pune organization called Prayas, I think. They help people with instrumentation that they can use to figure out their energy usage and where it's getting lost. But I'll give you, again, because I have been kind of a local expert in my community there. A lot of leakage happens because people are simply unaware of what the local electricians come and do. And people struggle with, my bill went so high, I didn't do anything. Some gadget is causing a problem. Some safety devices have been turned off. For example, I'm quoting 2 live examples where people had tripping an RCCB in the basement. They called the electrician, they did not see what the electrician is doing. The electrician said, sometime later the entire community is having water shock. They are unable to troubleshoot. They call some electrician, that fellow is clueless. I was called, I went in and I did a survey and I figured out what had been done. Took almost one full evening of painstaking walk through multiple flats, looking at the wiring and all of that. Just go and see the wiring inside the wiring closet at the basement. Complete shambles. I would, with all due respect, MSEDCL pillar boxes are in disarray. Lot of problems in those pillar boxes. So we have leakage at a lot of places, right through the supply chain into the households. Some people realize when their bills go up, they react. Some people don't. But on an average, I would equally back that statement somebody said, almost 25-30% of wastage. Definitely it is there. My own house, because I keep monitoring my meter, I literally record manually my meter every day. I have logs for multiple years. I was out of town, my water pump blew. Over 3 days, I lost 50 units each day. But I was aware, somebody else would not be, right? So I think these kind of leakages happen systemically throughout. We need a mechanism by which consumers are able to monitor themselves. And I would go one more step, I think I spoke during the break, we need to regulate the electrician industry. We need strong regulation on the electrician industry. Sorry to say this, but they are point number 1 of the damage chain. Right from safety device bypass, wiring mechanisms, wiring equipment, wiring material, fuses ko nikal do, right? They are the number 1 problem in the supply chain.
I have another aspect. Agriculture pumps, I was talking, 48 lakh is the count in Maharashtra. There is a policy that we don't give the connection till the capacitors are installed. But my observation during my PhD work is 90% capacitors have been removed. If only we can install them, what sir pointed, 25% will be saved.
Agreed. That too. That too.
Very simple, nothing to do with. Secondly, people have, now we are very lazy, so everything is on timers. So we switch on the things on the timers and all that. It also cause many wastage of electricity. We think रात को 10 बजे टाइमर से टीवी बंद कर दिया, सुबह 6 बजे मेन स्विच बंद कर दिया, 8 घंटे में कुछ नहीं, 2 वैट है लेकिन 1 करोड़ हाउस होल्ड है. उसके लिए क्या करना है, सिर्फ उठ के स्विच बंद करना है. करते नहीं है हम लोग, यहाँ से वहाँ चले जाते, कुछ नहीं होता है. हम लोगों का कॉलेज, मेरा पुणे MSCDCL हैव MOU with 35 engineering colleges. I always tell them, give mini projects to students for every classroom. Automatic sensor based projects can be done for a room like this also. It can be applied. So ये awareness और ये चीजें, टेक्नोलॉजी भी जाएगी, नॉलेज भी जाएगा, प्रैक्टिकल एक्सपीरियंस भी आएगा और यूटिलाइजेशन भी होगा. आई एम स्टिल द गाय कि अवेयरनेस करना चाहिए.
Hi, I'm Saurabh Kelkar from Seagreen Products. On the same point, like we install solar net metering systems and we work closely with naturally MSCB and the clients, and we have always experienced that the technology is not the problem nor the MSCDCL, but the misconception from the client side that MSCB त्रास देईल किंवा systems उशीर लावेल लायझनिंग मध्ये. सो आय थिंक देर शुड बी अ अवेअरनेस बिल्डिंग campaign or programs or small like PPTs that can be held at MSCB or some common platforms like PIC, where the MSCDCL, the clients or interested customers and some people from the industry can come together and discuss or know the policies well, because MSCDCL has good policies, but they need to come to, in the simple words, like the non-technical persons should also get to know them and try to install them. And same with the case with the energy efficiency as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Good. Yeah, I think.
Just one point, I remember that since we are talking about financing, credit rating of consumer, which limits their accessibility to OPEX model. So large established consumers, they do get the OPEX models because they do have that proper credit rating available. But residential societies, when, I mean, first of all, I live in the same Blue Ridge, their society is different than ours. They took the decision, they could convince everyone in 2019, COVID happened, we stayed back. And it is very difficult to convince 700 flats to go ahead with the capex model and putting that 15,000 rupees upfront. But then if you are going for the OPEX model, then there are hardly few developers who can bring the financing for residential society. So that is one thing for residential societies. And even for commercial and industrial, unless you have a whatever A plus credit rating, then again getting the financing by the developer to provide your OPEX model is kind of difficult. So maybe some confidence building, there has to be some. But I think it is even not utilized properly. Yeah.
I think all the valid points, of course, credit rating from the financing point of view, but customer awareness, because, you know, all of us don't really realize when we switch off the fan or light, you know, how much energy saving we are contributing to. So there are some best practices that we have seen from other walks where Gurudas and his team is working on one of the initiative where every paper cup that we use, how it stacks up when we add the numbers and how it really becomes a difficult problem to solve, you know, but at energy level also I think we need to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So my name is Rahul Rajan from Protostar Technologies. So I'm primarily a real estate developer. I've gotten into solar because of the same challenges which Sir had mentioned about the vendors
not being there is not it's not a standardized industry at this point. A lot of vendors are in the focus of trying to win the customer, and Indian customers are, how do you say, cost conscious. So it's just a matter of getting whatever the lowest cost systems and installing it in some way and getting that commissioned. So we have our own technology where we're able to give solar into every apartment. And I did this as a pilot project in one of my construction, one of the buildings which I did, which got quite a lot of recognition. That is why we ventured into this now. So a few things that I want to agree to, because actually everyone out here who has spoken out here, I resonated a lot with a lot of the points here. So so with what Karim Madam said, is the green future is only possible if energy equity is there. If there's access to green energy to every individual, that's the only way we can get green future. It doesn't matter whatever bells and whistles you do outside. You need to have it inside your home first. The second is that the microgrids. So now, but the thing about microgrids is, it is brilliant for rural areas, especially where there is power reliability issues. Because the battery will obviously balance that out for the individual customer. But that is not the real case in metropolitan areas. We don't have that. Power cuts are there, but it's not really a major issue as of 2024 now. So batteries on an individual level is something that does not, in my opinion, and I think we can always agree to, see, the point is scaling it. We can always talk about things being, we can always talk about things being a little bit fancy and everything, but if you have solar into we need to have a discom having the energy storage. If you have discom having the energy storage and not with the individual customer, the battery maintenance happens, because this is on a large scale. If it's a large scale, the cost comes down, economics of scale comes into play. So, and the biggest problem right now for solar and renewable energy generally is, like how Patni sir rightly said, that it is hurting the discom in terms of revenue. So if there is a way where the discom can also be a part of this renewable energy future, where they also have a large battery bank being part of the microgrid, so they are also part of the microgrid. This way, this sustainable, scalable model, because if you put batteries into the cost to the individual customer, the overall cost increases. So you're looking at an entirely unsustainable model of doing microgrid in a city by asking every customer to have battery. So let the discom have the battery, get that done. Rural areas, yes, it makes sense, but not in metropolitan areas. And in financial point of view, financing, if solar is installed, if you are able to give to every apartment, the funding can be done to the individual customer. A lot of banks are already doing that. So just because of interest of time, I will just say that this is it is possible, but the model for cities and the model for rural areas are two separate ones. And discom needs to be involved. Without discom, we can't get this done. All right, thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your valuable insights. Really appreciate. I'll conclude this conversation. We'll of course take some follow-up actions, but over to you, Shalvi, to just sum it up and of course conclude the overall workshop. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mahesh sir. Thank you, everyone. Next, we have Malik sir's talk. He's going to address the roundtable. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. I think this has been a very interesting discussion. And we are kind of mutual admiration society here. What we need to do is to take the message outside to the people. And that, of course, everybody knows. But that's the wish that I want to share. The other part of it is that while we are taking pride that we have reached something like 70 gigawatt solar generation, that is not even 1/10 of what our potential is, about 750 gigawatt. So that means that is that gap that needs to be filled in. Why? Because solar is clean? Yes, of course. But the other part is that we are also on a mission to make our country energy self-reliant, as Prime Minister himself has said. Now, energy self-reliant, at the same time walking away from fossil fuel, is going to be a huge challenge. we cannot depend upon individual effort. Therefore, we recognize that RE microgrid, not just solar but all RE microgrid proliferation is what is required. I also feel that in the long run, probably the concept of main grid may not last for long, because unlike Western countries which are trying to make the main grid on priority to be green, in our case that may not happen, or that may take a long time. Before that, I think it will be overtaken by the proliferation of RE microgrid. I think that one point probably people must have thought about, but that is one last point that I want to bring about, that this is not about just RE, it is also about distributed generation within the country with highest possible efficiency. And that is the promise of RE microgrid. That is the way RE microgrid can proliferate. And that I say that, I think Priyadarsini said the same thing, that obvious path forward is that much. I think this has been a very useful discussion. We have run out of 1 p.m. At 2 p.m. we are holding one more roundtable on reducing the emission of the infrastructure and buildings. So I'll close here. Thank you all people for being wonderful, imaginative contributions. Much to learn from so many personal experiences. I promised Mr. Jagade that the summary of this in terms of report will be ready in 1 month. And that will be a starting point to go further. We are doing it in PMR as a part of the special project taken by PIC of making PMR carbon neutral, net carbon neutral by 2030. But I'm sure it can happen before 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malik sir. Thank you, everyone. Like Malik sir mentioned, those who joined in a bit later, so Mahesh Zagade sir had offered us his support in taking this report forward to PMRDA as well. And thank you to each one of you. Thank you, Patni sir, for coming here on behalf of MSCDCL. And yes, so of course, I'm coming there. And thank you to our collaborators, Dr. Gurudas Nulkar sir, who is representing CSD, Dr. Priyadarshini Karve ma'am, who is representing Clean, and also thanks to Mahesh sir for moderating the discussion so well. I also want to thank Dr. Nitant Mate, because he has been his insights during conceptualizing this entire discussion. Yeah, it has been very crucial. So a big thanks to him as well. And if all of you, we can definitely get in touch with you even after this this discussion. If there are more points that you want to add to this, if anything has been left out, then we can definitely connect one-on-one. And we will compile everything together and form a report which will be submitted to PMRDA, of course, and relevant government authorities. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.